How's it going, everyone? As you can tell from the title, we're going to be doing another really awesome modification on my 2003 Saab 9.3 today. This is another one of those little mods I've kind of always wanted to do, but never got around to it. So let's go ahead, get started. As always, huge shout out to Maptun Performance for sponsoring this video, the channel, my cars, as always. But inside this box, we have something rather special from them. If we pop this open, you'll see we've got ourselves a pool noodle that happens to be wrapped around a steering wheel. So let's get this pulled off here and unveil this new steering wheel, which is absolutely freaking gorgeous. Look at this thing. As you all are probably already aware of, Maptun makes so many awesome aftermarket parts for our cars. I have their strut brace on my car, I have their suspension on my car, I have their tune on my car, I have their grill on my car, bunch of other little things, and now I'm going to be putting their steering wheel on my car. You can see it says Maptun Performance right there, which is really sweet. They have a few different varieties of steering wheels, so for some reason you don't want a flat bottom one, you want a different color stitching, or maybe you don't want perforated leather here, for example. They have different options, so please go check out their website. It'll be linked at the very top of the description as always. But yeah, this thing is sweet. Once we get the current wheel out, I'll do a bit more of a comparison, but right off the bat, if you can't already tell, this wheel is just a lot thicker and beefier than the stock wheel that's in the car. Of course, you also have the flat bottom, which is really great. This wheel actually reminds me a lot of my S3 steering wheel. I'll put a picture of the S3 steering wheel on the screen right here next to it for reference. I mean, they look almost identical, which is kind of funny. But the leather on this is super soft, it's super comfortable, and I can't wait to get this in the car, as well as these little notches that are almost cut out for you to put your thumb right here. And yeah, so I guess without further ado, let's go ahead, hop in the car, get the stock wheel removed. Because we are removing the airbag while doing this job, the first thing I want to do here is disconnect the battery, just so that way we don't explode the airbag inadvertently, which I don't think would happen even if the battery was connected, but better safe than sorry. I've actually changed this steering wheel out a handful of times and filmed a variety of different videos on it, but if you want to know how to remove the airbag, which is easily the only relatively difficult part of this job and can be a bit tedious, click the link in the top corner for a more in-depth video on that. Basically, I'm just going to use an Allen key. I have the wheel tilted like this. If you look back behind here, there's going to be a little hole on either side, so we'll need to turn it one way or the other depending on which side we're trying to get. We just want to kind of shove the Allen key in just at the right angle. And there you can see, I kind of had it more almost like this, so it was kind of facing towards me, and I just stuck the butt of my hand into it and pushed almost towards me a little bit, and it popped straight out. Do the same thing over here. There we go. Wasn't bad at all. So I actually went ahead and reconnected the battery because otherwise the steering wheel locked. So what I'm going to do now is actually go disconnect the battery again. There's a yellow tab right here, or connector I should say, that kind of naturally just pulls itself out. Then you have two on the airbag itself. You just pull the yellow portion out. And that little connector will come off. And now our airbag is free. Now to get the wheel off the rest of the way, there is a screw holding this on. It is a hex head. I don't have hex sockets, but a T50 looks like it'll work and get the job done. You can see this bolt has some thread locker on it. And there we go, our steering wheel pops off. We've got to actually salvage the paddle shifters and the buttons off of this wheel. So let's go ahead and do that now. Here's where you can really just get a sense for how much beefier this Maptun wheel is compared to the stock one. This is kind of the sport wheel out of the newer 9.3, so I actually had a newer airbag in my car. We are going to be switching back to the older airbag style because this is an 03 to an 05 wheel. The 06 Plus had a different airbag. But you can see here just the difference in thickness and size. There's nothing wrong with this wheel. I didn't mind it. But I mean, how could you not want to upgrade to something like this? So as you can see, this wheel doesn't really come with much of anything. I think I'm going to start by removing these three, and then there's the little Torx for the buttons as well, because we're going to have to swap over the wiring and everything. If you're doing this job on an 06 and newer, you will have to do this last part I just did. However, I'm noticing if you look closely between the 06, which is what's in my hand, and the 03 to 05, you'll notice they're different. There's a few differences with them. For one, how the wiring works on the airbags is a lot different. And secondly, the 03 to 05 doesn't have this whole plate and harness with it. It only has one little ground right there that I'll have to take off. So all I need to do here is swap this ground from, this is the original wheel that actually came in my car. So you can see pretty significant difference there. But I'm going to take the ground off of this wheel and put it in right there. These are the buttons off of my existing wheel. And I noticed they wouldn't quite clip in to here. So I flipped them around, and sure enough, I noticed how they mount is ever so slightly different compared to how the 03 to 05 buttons mount. So here's the 03 to 05 buttons for comparison. And you can see the 03 to 05 have their mounting point down here. The tabs are, they look like they're in the same place, even though it didn't seem to want to go into the tabs either, didn't want to seem to line up. So that's unfortunate. I'm going to have to hold off on these buttons for now and source an 03 to 05 set of these buttons. So I'm going to be using no paddle shifters for now. And honestly, the all black kind of looks pretty sweet. And then there are some little guides down here for this wiring harness that you can feed it behind, just that way it's not in the way. Because the airbag is a little bit different, we have two cables coming off of that. This one is the one that plugs into the steering wheel controls, and then we have our ground here. So remember, we screwed on the ground earlier, so we'll plug that in here. And then this one will plug into the buttons right over here. One thing to note, obviously you have your connector for the SIM right here, but there is only one way for this to go on because the steering shaft is grooved as is the inside of the wheel. So you just gotta kind of find that right spot. All right, so now we want to make sure we plug in our ground. Got that. We'll plug in our steering wheel controls. Got that. And now our airbag should just clip right in. Actually, it won't because I'm an idiot and forgot to plug in the big yellow connector. Make sure that's in the whole way. Man, that really did not like to go on nearly as smooth as the 06 and newer ones do, but it's in. Let's reconnect the battery. It's been about a week since I put this steering wheel on the car. I probably put about 100 miles on it. I definitely messed up putting my airbag on because if you can't tell, my horn doesn't work and I have an airbag light. So I'm gonna pop this off here after I film this outro. But I gotta say, man, this just transforms how it feels to actually sit in here and drive the car. I mean, it's just so smooth. It's so just like thick and like easy to grip, and like sliding my hand around it I don't know, like when I'm making a turn here, just like sliding my hand around it, it just feels so much better than the stock wheel did. I mean, the flat bottom is absolutely awesome. As someone who's a little bit taller like me, it kind of gives me a little bit more space down here, which is great. Once again though, guys, if you are looking for any sort of aftermarket parts for your Saab, be sure to check out Maptun. Their website will be linked at the top of the description. I'm talking tunes, I'm talking interior parts, I'm talking mechanical parts like strut braces, suspension, things like that. They've got everything under the sun for these cars. So big thank you to them once again. We'll have one more mod video coming very soon with another interior part, so stay tuned for that. But for now, I'm gonna head home, fix my airbag light and my horn, and enjoy this wheel some more. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Take it easy.